Revenge films.
My name is Melissa. It all began one day from a tiny little gut feeling that something was wrong in my otherwise normal life. And that strange feeling was because I started to realize that in my home, small disposable items like diapers, pens, and toilet paper started disappearing around the house. However, I honestly thought that it was just a little mistake that I made, and I didn't think that it was anything to make a big deal out of and simply let it go each time. However, I started to get suspicious when the change that amounted to about $7 on the countertop disappeared out of nowhere. Apparently, my husband Jonathan had just placed all of the change that he had gathered up in his bag there, and because he insisted that he definitely put it there was no doubt about it. But at the same time, I also knew that I hadn't touched it. Even though both of us insisted that we hadn't touched it, the truth was that the money was gone, and the both of us were starting to feel uneasy about what could have possibly happened to it. So, the two of us started to backtrack on the recent events that happened over the last few days. Our son Kevin was over at his grandparents' house, so he wasn't home, and the only person that had been in and out of our house wasn't my husband nor I, was a fellow mom from Kevin's preschool named Karen. But at the same time, to suspect somebody, especially a fellow mom from the preschool, of stealing from us made me feel really guilty, and I didn't want to think that it could be her. But it still felt too uncomfortable that things were disappearing from my house, so I decided to build up the courage to ask one of the other moms about it. But then, I heard some shocking words.
What? You didn't know? Karen is famous for this.
What? What are you talking about? According to the other mom, it turns out that Karen was famous for having a bad habit of stealing from people. Apparently, countless other moms had already been victims to Karen's theft, but because the stolen items were really minor things like the things that went missing from my house, and it's not like anybody had hidden cameras or security footage from inside of their house. Because there was no definitive evidence against her, nobody had gone to the police or anything like that. It may not have been expensive, but that didn't matter to me. I was irritated that she would steal things that didn't belong to her in the first place. So the next time Karen came over to my house, I decided to put it to the test. I put on an act and purposely put on a dark face as I held a thick envelope supposedly from the bank. And then I said, I suddenly need to take all of this out. And I flashed the inside to her. But then Karen's eyes lit up and she said, What? What are you going to use that for? She asked me, so I simply brushed it off like it wasn't a big deal. And then I taped the envelope shut. And then I placed the envelope inside of the drawer in the cupboard in the living room right in front of her. After that, I pretended to go to the kitchen to pour tea and left the room. But I was actually in the hallway, listening into the living room, and I heard the sound of the drawer being pulled open. She hit the nail on the head, and so I immediately went back into the living room with snacks in hand. But then Karen suddenly said, Something came up that's important, so I gotta go. Sorry. And she backed up and rushed out of my apartment. But I saw her face, and she was grinning from ear to ear, even though she had no idea what was actually inside. As soon as she left, I opened the drawer and confirmed that the envelope was gone. When I told the neighbors and the other moms about what happened, they were all cracking up. Well, as for the reason why I'm laughing so hard about it, it's because inside of the envelope that Karen had taken was not actually any real money. It was just fake money that children use as toys, and it was simply to catch Karen in a trap. There was a mini arcade at the supermarket in our neighborhood, and I worked really hard to get all of that toy money from the crane machine. But upon a quick glance, anybody might mistake it for real money. When Karen left my apartment, I wanted to see what she was going to do after she stole the money, so I quietly followed her. When she realized that it wasn't actually real money inside, I'm sure she would want to complain to me. But if she did that, then it would be the same as confessing that she stole it out of my apartment. So I'm sure she wouldn't be able to say anything. For a couple of days after she stole the fake notes from me, I didn't see her around at all. But not long after that, she came over as usual like nothing had happened. She said she wanted to come over to my house, but I had had enough of her stealing from me, so I firmly said to her, Not anymore. You understand, don't you? When I said that, her face immediately went pale.
What are you talking about? I have no clue what you're talking about.
Oh, really? You don't know what I'm talking about? When you got home, I'm sure you were shocked, weren't you? Because when you opened up the envelope from the bank, there was only fake money stuffed in there. When I left the living room that day, you stole that out of my drawer, didn't you?
Stop accusing me when you don't have any proof.
I'm not accusing you, because you were the only person that was in the room after I put away the envelope in that drawer. And then it was gone.
Just because I stole a couple of fake notes, don't treat me like I'm some kind of thief. You'll be happy if I compensate you for it, right? Here, take this. It's money. And with this, it's all settled, like nothing happened.
After she said that, Karen disappeared like she was running away. Because what she had taken from me was such a small amount, I ended up not going to the police about it. But I did tell the other moms. And after that, apparently, all of the other moms did the same thing as me and refused to let Karen into any of their homes. All at once, everybody cut off all ties with her. I heard from one of the other moms after that it's not like Karen was stealing things with any objective. She was just stealing whatever she could get her hands on. It was that grass is greener on the other side type of thing. And apparently, she was the type of person that wanted whatever belonged to somebody else. Even though luckily it was just an attempt, apparently, I was the first person that she tried to steal actual money from. But even though it was an attempt because I had set up the trap, I didn't want anything to do with her after she tried to steal such a large amount of money. Because I notified not only the fellow moms, but also the neighbors about how Karen tried to steal the envelope full of money from me, she was ignored by everybody around and instantly became an outcast. Well, she did this all to herself, and that's what I thought. But I guess it became too difficult for her to live in that community anymore, and I heard a rumor that she was going to move. I didn't think that she was going to move over this, but then I found out that it was actually that Karen was caught by the police and arrested. I thought that maybe finally somebody had reported her to the police, but it turns out that she had actually gone to an electronics store in town, and she had grabbed a huge air purifier machine and tried to steal that. That's when she was arrested by the police. Well, an air purifier wasn't that heavy, so it would be easy to carry out of a shop. But it's still a big item, so of course anybody would notice that. For the record, apparently Karen didn't even act like she was hiding anything, and instead, after grabbing the air purifier, she walked right in front of one of the employees, straight toward the door. But that was when the employee rushed to stop her and reported her to the police. That would be an obvious thing for anybody to do, but apparently she threw a tantrum on the spot.
Hey, what are you doing? Don't touch me! Let go of me!
And she was yelling at the employee who tried to stop her. One of the husbands of the moms at the preschool works at the police station, and he told us that the idiot Karen lost her temper at the police station and was actually bragging about all the things that she had stolen from other people's homes. Even though she had been stealing from the homes of the other moms, nobody ever reported her, and that's why she thought that she would never be caught by the police and she could get away with it again. And apparently she was throwing a tantrum at the police station. She was arrested when she had gotten away with it before. The things that she had stolen from us were little things like diapers and pens, nothing expensive. So nobody said anything because it seemed silly to bother police about it. But instead, she admitted to all of that and made herself guilty. So she can't blame anybody else, can she? As for the police as well, even though normally the police have to confront people and corner them to get a confession, Karen was going on a rampage, saying that she stole this and that from whose house, and yet nobody said anything. So why should she have to get arrested now? And because she was confessing her crimes, one after the other, they just sat there with their eyes wide open. But by law, no matter what you were stealing, if you stole something that's not yours, it's a crime. So after that, they went to the houses where Karen herself said she stole things from and did a full investigation. Of course, they came to our house as well. They asked me about what she stole from us when she came to our place. So I started by telling them about the diapers and pens, but then I also told them about the toy bills that I had placed in the envelope. The policeman said that he isn't supposed to laugh about these things, but he was struggling to contain his laughter as he said,
"That was pretty well done. Good job."
And commended me. But after that, he said,
"No matter how small the item may be, stealing something from somebody is still the crime of theft. And therefore, next time it happens, or if it ever happens again, please make sure to report it to the police."
And he scolded me a little bit as well. After that, everybody realized that the police wanted to know, so one by one, they all went into the police station to report things that Karen had stolen from them. But that amounted to more than 100 items, and I heard that the weight of her crime instantly doubled. The reason why I was able to pinpoint her as the criminal this time was because of the money. It's difficult to notice when something small has been stolen out of a pack of many, but it was still irritating that something would get stolen from me that I paid for. And that's why the only thing I can say is that she did this all to herself. In the end, after she tried to steal a large air purifier from the electronics shop this time, and so many people came to report the many items that she had stolen, no matter how small, she had multiple accounts of theft against her, and Karen was sentenced to prison. After Karen was arrested by the police and no longer in our society, it was a relief for all of us. She actually didn't have a husband, and apparently her parents had been looking after her daughter that was in the same preschool as my son. And so, when she was sentenced to prison, I heard that her daughter was taken by her parents, and that her daughter was actually happy to be living with her grandparents. Given how much she had such a habit of stealing, I could only imagine that her parents also knew about the bad habit, and that she wasn't setting a good example for her child. But I heard that her daughter is going to be living with her grandparents now, and I honestly think that that's better for the child anyway. It's important to be good role models to our kids.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.